Chosen one, stop everything and listen. Why do you wake up at 3 a.m. with that crushing weight on your chest? Why does every victory in your life feel temporary while every struggle feels permanent? Why are you still here, still breathing, still fighting when others half your age have already given up? Because the 6th of September wasn't marked on your calendar by accident. Right now, this very second, heaven is pressing pause on the chaos of your world. The unpaid bills scattered across your kitchen table, the silence from children who rarely call, the mirror that reflects back decades of dreams deferred, they all freeze in this sacred moment. It's just you and the voice of the Almighty cutting through 70, 80, 90 years of noise. Listen to me carefully, beloved. If you're hearing my words today, on the 6th of September, this isn't coincidence, this is divine appointment. Your finger didn't randomly find this message. Your spirit was summoned here by the God who has been orchestrating every breath you've taken since 1934, 1945, 1952, whatever year you first gasped for air in this broken world. Here's the shocking truth they don't want you to know. You've been living beneath a curse that was never yours to carry. Every financial struggle, every health battle, every night you've cried yourself to sleep, wondering if God forgot your address. It's all been part of a spiritual siege, designed to keep you from discovering what the 6th of September really means for your bloodline. But today, that siege ends. Before I go deeper into what heaven revealed to me at 2:47 this morning, and yes, I know many of you were awake at that exact hour, feeling something stir in your chest. I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let your heart lead. Right now, I need you to do something that might feel foolish to your mind but will awaken your spirit. Type in the comments, "I'm ready, Lord." Say it out loud if you can. Let the angels hear you claim this moment, because what I'm about to reveal will explain why every betrayal, every disappointment, every tear you thought was wasted has been preparing you for what God is about to release on the 6th of September. The enemy has spent decades convincing you that your best years are behind you. But before this message ends, you will see why everything, absolutely everything, has led you to this very day. Your resurrection morning just arrived. Have you ever wondered why you're still here when others half your age have already quit? Have you asked yourself why every door you approach seems to slam shut just as your weathered hand reaches for the handle? Have you whispered in the darkness of your bedroom, "God, did you forget I'm still breathing?" Listen to me, chosen one. Your heart is pounding right now because something ancient in your spirit recognizes this moment. The 6th of September is not just another date circled on your kitchen calendar between doctor appointments and grocery runs. This date was carved into eternity's timeline before the first star burned, before the first ocean kissed the shore, before your grandmother's grandmother drew her first breath. The 6th of September is heaven's hinge moment for your bloodline. Think about Moses. For 80 years, he walked through the same desert sand, tending the same sheep, watching the same sun rise and set over the same mountains. 80 years of feeling forgotten, feeling passed over, feeling like his moment had died with his youth. Until one ordinary Tuesday, one bush caught fire. Not the whole forest, just one bush. And in that single moment, everything changed. The shepherd became the deliverer, the forgotten became the chosen, the old man became the miracle. Like Joseph, rotting in an Egyptian prison cell for years, forgotten by the cupbearer he helped, abandoned by every connection he thought he had. The dreams of his youth seemed to mock him from the stone walls of his dungeon. Until one morning, Pharaoh had a nightmare and suddenly remembered the Hebrew boy with the gift. In one single day, Joseph went from prisoner to prime minister, from forgotten to first in command. Like Esther, an orphan girl hidden in the king's harem, invisible among hundreds of beautiful women. She had no idea that every day of obscurity was positioning her for a moment that would save an entire nation. One night, the king couldn't sleep. One night changed history. For such a time as this, Mordecai told her, not such a time as yesterday, not such a time as tomorrow, such a time as this. Your such a time as this has arrived on the 6th of September. But here's what's breaking my heart right now. I know exactly what you're thinking. You're sitting there maybe in that same chair where you've cried yourself to sleep so many nights and you're whispering, but I'm 73, but I'm 86, but my children don't call anymore, but my savings account has more dust than dollars. But my body hurts when I wake up, and my dreams hurt when I go to sleep. Have you felt forgotten by the very God you've served for decades? When you kneel beside your bed at night, do your prayers feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling instead of reaching heaven? Do you wonder if your age has somehow disqualified you from miracles, as if God's power has an expiration date stamped on your birth certificate? Dear soul, that's not God's voice telling you it's too late. That's the enemy's last desperate attempt to steal what the 6th of September is about to unleash in your life. You see, Satan knows something about the 6th of September that he's been hiding from you. He knows that this date carries a frequency from heaven that will shatter every chain he's wrapped around your family for generations. He knows that what happens on the 6th of September will not only change your story, but rewrite the ending for your children and your children's children. That's why he's been working overtime to convince you that your season is over. That's why the attacks on your health have intensified. That's why the loneliness has felt crushing. That's why the financial pressure has mounted. He's not trying to destroy an old person who's already finished. He's trying to stop a chosen vessel who's about to be launched into their greatest assignment. Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." Your season of feeling invisible is ending on the 6th of September. Your time of wondering if your prayers matter is expiring on the 6th of September. Your years of believing your best days are behind you are being buried on the 6th of September. Because the 6th of September isn't just another day, it's the day heaven says, enough hiding, enough waiting, enough believing the lie that you're too old, too late, too forgotten. If you feel that tug in your chest right now, that stirring you haven't felt in years, write 999 the comments. That's not a lucky number, that's heaven's signal of a new beginning. That's God's way of saying, I see you. I remember you. I'm about to shock the world with what I do through you. But before I reveal exactly what the 6th of September means for your future, you need to understand something that will change how you see every difficult season you've walked through. Stay with me, because in just a few minutes I'll reveal why your hardest season was never punishment but preparation for the moment when God finally says, it's time. Dear chosen one, let me ask you something that's going to cut deep into places you thought were healed. Why did your own children stop calling? Why did 43 years of marriage end with papers served by a stranger? Why did the company you gave your life to hand you a gold watch and show you the door like you were nothing more than office furniture? You've been sitting in that chair, haven't you? The one by the window where you watch neighbors half your age rush past with their busy, important lives. And you wonder, did God forget my address somewhere between 1987 and today? Listen to me carefully, beloved. Every tear that's rolled down your weathered cheeks since Kennedy was president, God caught every single one. Psalm 56:8 declares, You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. Not some of them, all of them. That bottle is overflowing right now in heaven's treasury, and each drop represents a deposit into an account you didn't even know existed. But here's what's going to shock you. Those weren't just tears of pain. They were tears of preparation. Think about Job for a moment. This man lost everything in a single day. His children dead, his wealth gone, his health destroyed. His wife looked at him, covered in boils and scraping his sores with broken pottery, and said, Curse God and die. Even his closest friends became his accusers. telling him his suffering must be punishment for some hidden sin. Job sat in the ash heap of his former life, and do you know what he said? "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." That's the cry of someone whose faith has been forged in fire so hot it burned away everything except what was eternal. You've been Job, haven't you? Sitting in your own ash heap. Maybe it was the foreclosure notice in 2008 when Wall Street's greed cost you the home you'd paid on for 30 years. Maybe it was the phone call at midnight telling you your spouse wouldn't be coming home. Maybe it was watching your child choose addiction over family, walking out that door and taking your heart with them. David understood this wilderness too. 1 Samuel tells us he spent years hiding in caves, running from King Saul who wanted him dead. Here was a man anointed to be king, living like a fugitive. Psalm 142:4 captures his desperation. "I look to my right and see no one there willing to help. No one cares for my soul. No one cares for my soul." Have you whispered those words into your pillow at 3 a.m.? When the house creaks with loneliness and the phone never rings and you realize you could disappear tomorrow and the world would keep spinning without missing a beat. But here's what David discovered in those caves that you need to understand today. God wasn't punishing him. God was positioning him. Every night of terror was building courage. Every day of uncertainty was developing faith. Every moment of feeling forgotten was teaching him to depend on God alone. Your life has been like a blade in the fire, beloved, not breaking, but being forged. The financial ruin that should have destroyed you, it taught you that your security doesn't come from bank accounts. The betrayal that should have made you bitter, it showed you what unconditional love really means. The loneliness that should have driven you to despair, it created space in your heart for God's presence in ways the busy never experience. Remember Joseph, sold by his own brothers into slavery at 17, falsely accused by Potiphar's wife and thrown into prison, forgotten by the cupbearer who promised to remember him. Genesis 39:21 says, "But the Lord was with Joseph, not after his rescue, during his imprisonment, in the pit, in the palace servants' quarters, in the dungeon. The Lord was with you too, in the divorce court, in the oncologist's waiting room, in the cemetery when you buried your dreams along with your spouse, in the nursing home when you realized your children saw you as a burden instead of a blessing. Every rejection carved out more capacity for God's love. Every loss created room for his presence. Every tear washed away something that needed to go so something greater could take its place. But here's the part that's going to make you weep with recognition instead of sorrow. Those tears weren't wasted, they were weapons. 2 Corinthians 1-4 tells us, God comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. Right now, there's someone 40 years younger than you, drowning in the same waters that once nearly took you under. They need to see that survival is possible. They need your scars to prove that healing is real. They need your gray hair to represent wisdom earned in the furnace of real life. Whisper this now, God saw me. Say it out loud if you can. Write it in the comments if you dare to declare that your suffering has meaning, that your pain has purpose, that your tears were not shed in vain. Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly what those decades of preparation were building toward. The enemy thought he was destroying you, but God was actually equipping you for the most important assignment of your entire life, an assignment that begins right now, on the 6th of September, in ways that will leave you breathless with wonder at his perfect timing. Dear chosen one, I need you to stop right there and listen to what I'm about to tell you. Because what you've been calling your greatest failures, what you've been carrying as shame for decades, it was never failure at all. You've been living with a veil over your spiritual eyes, a thick, suffocating curtain that's made you see rejection where God saw redirection, made you see closed doors where he saw divine protection, made you see delay where he saw preparation. But on the 6th of September, that veil is being torn in two. Let me ask you something that's going to cut straight to your heart. What if every job you didn't get, saved you from a company that would have collapsed and taken your pension with it? What if every relationship that ended was God pulling you away from someone who would have destroyed your peace in your golden years? What if every financial setback was heaven positioning you for a blessing so massive that if it had come earlier, it would have ruined your character? Think about Joseph in that pit, betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, forgotten in prison for years. From any human perspective, Joseph's life looked like one disaster after another. But Jeremiah 29:11 declares God's eternal truth. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope and a future. Every betrayal was positioning. Every setback was set up. Every closed door was protection from settling for less than God's best. You are like a seed that's been buried underground for 70, 80, 90 years, invisible to the world above. Everyone walking past your life thinking nothing significant is happening down there in the darkness. Your own family looking at you and seeing someone whose time has passed. But beneath the surface, something magnificent has been growing. The pressure you felt, that wasn't punishment. That was the weight of soil pressing down, forcing your roots to grow deeper, stronger, more unshakable than any surface plant could ever be. The darkness you've walked through, that wasn't abandonment. That was the perfect environment for supernatural growth that can only happen away from the world's distracting light. But here's what's about to shock you. The 6th of September is your breaking through the ground moment. What if I told you that every door that slammed shut in the 1972nd, 82nd, 92nd, and every decade since wasn't rejection? What if those doors were being held closed by God's own hand because He was aligning doors you never knew existed? Doors to purposes you couldn't have handled when you were younger. Doors to influence you weren't mature enough to steward. Doors to abundance you weren't wise enough to manage. The enemy has been whispering lies in your ear for decades. You're too old now. You missed your chance. God's moved on to younger people. But on the 6th of September, God is silencing those lies forever. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, I can feel the Holy Spirit stirring. Can you feel it too? That electricity in your chest, that sudden awareness that something enormous is shifting in the spiritual realm. Your spirit is recognizing truth your mind hasn't caught up to yet. God has been aligning doors you never knew existed. Supernatural opportunities that require your exact combination of experience, wisdom, and spiritual depth. The 6th of September, the hinges are turning. The sound of those massive doors creaking open is going to echo across every area of your life where you thought it was too late. Your children who rarely call. God's about to turn their hearts back toward you in a way that will leave them hungry for the wisdom you carry. Your health that's been declining. The great physician is about to demonstrate His power in your physical frame. Your finances that never seem to stretch far enough. Heaven's treasury is about to open in ways that will make you a blessing to 3 generations. But I need you to understand something crucial. This breakthrough requires your participation. God won't force His blessings on someone who's still mourning over what they think they've lost, instead of rejoicing over what they're about to receive. If you know this word is resonating in the deepest chambers of your heart, I need you to stand up right where you are. I don't care if your knees hurt. I don't care if someone's watching. Stand up. Lift your hand toward heaven and say these words out loud. I receive it. I receive what God has prepared for me on the 6th of September. Say it loud enough for the angels to hear. Say it with enough authority that every demon assigned to your delay knows their time is up. Say it like you mean it, because your faith is the key that unlocks what heaven has been holding in reserve. The veil is lifting. The truth is emerging. Your underground season is ending, and your above-ground impact is about to begin. But in just a few minutes, I'm going to show you something that will take your breath away. I'm going to reveal the exact spiritual crossroads you're standing on right now, and which path God Himself is pointing you toward. Because what I'm about to share will explain why the 6th of September isn't just another day on your calendar. It's the day your entire life story changes direction. Are you ready to see what you've never seen before? Beloved, you're standing at a crossroads tonight. Not just any crossroads, the crossroads. The same intersection where every giant of faith has stood, trembling, before stepping into their divine assignment. Look to your left. See that familiar path? It's worn smooth by 70, 80, 90 years of your footsteps. The path of playing it safe. The path of telling yourself you're too old, too tired, too broken. The path where you wake up tomorrow, exactly like you woke up today, carrying the same regrets, nursing the same wounds, accepting the same limitations. Down that path you hear the whispers. At your age, just be grateful for what you have. Don't rock the boat. Your time for dreaming is over. That path leads to nursing homes filled with souls who never discovered their true calling. It leads to deathbeds heavy with the weight of what if. But look to your right, chosen one. See that narrow path? It's unmarked, untraveled by the masses. It's the path where Moses stood at 80 years old, staring at a burning bush, hearing God say, "Now, Moses." Now is when your real life begins. It's where Esther stood in the palace, realizing she wasn't there for comfort, she was there for such a time as this. Here's what's tearing at your heart right now. You know which path you've been walking. You feel it in your bones, don't you? The familiar ache of settling, the quiet desperation of watching years slip by while your deepest calling remained buried under excuses and fear. But the 6th of September changes everything. Because God is standing at this crossroads with you, and He's saying something that will shatter every lie you've believed about your limitations. Your age doesn't disqualify you, it authenticates you. Your scars don't mark you as damaged, they mark you as tested. Your mistakes don't define your future, they prepared you for your purpose. Listen to me, dear one. When David stood before Goliath, he wasn't the strongest man in Israel. When Gideon faced the Midianite army, he wasn't the bravest warrior. When Sarah conceived Isaac, she wasn't in her prime. But they all had something that mattered more than youth, more than strength, more than perfect circumstances. They had divine appointment. And your appointment isn't for tomorrow. It isn't for when you feel ready. It's for right now, at this crossroads, on the 6th of September. Think about this. Why are you still here? Why didn't God take you home when you buried your spouse? Why didn't He call you up during that heart attack 5 years ago? Why are you still breathing when so many of your generation have gone on to glory? Because your assignment isn't complete. Because there's still fire in your bones that refuses to be extinguished. Because God has been saving the best wine for last. But here's the truth that's going to cut deep. This crossroads won't remain open forever. Divine windows have divine timing. The same God who opened the Red Sea for exactly the time Moses needed it will close this moment of opportunity if you hesitate too long. Right now, in nursing homes across America, there are souls who had this same moment 20, 30 years ago. They felt this same stirring, they heard this same call. But they chose the familiar path. They chose safety over surrender, comfort over calling. Don't let that be your story. Your gray hair isn't evidence of decline, it's your crown of wisdom. Proverbs 16:31 declares, "Gray hair is a crown of splendor. It is attained in the way of righteousness." Every line on your face tells a story of battles fought and victories won. Every ache in your joint speaks of miles traveled in faithfulness. The world sees your Medicare card and thinks senior discount. God sees your journey and thinks senior authority. The world counts your years and whispers expiration date. Heaven counts your tears and declares validation complete. But you must choose. Tonight, at this crossroads, will you shuffle back down that worn path of excuses? Will you let another the 6th of September pass by while your calling remains buried under fear? Will you wake up tomorrow carrying the same burdens, speaking the same doubts, accepting the same limitations? Or will you step onto that narrow path where miracles happen, where 80-year-old shepherds become deliverers of nations, where barren wombs birth nations, where forgotten dreamers become world changers. The enemy is screaming at you right now. You're too old. You've missed your chance. God's done with people like you. But God's voice is louder. I have saved my finest wine for last. Your latter days will be greater than your former days. Type it boldly in the comments. No more delay. Say it to heaven with everything in you. No more delay. Because what happens in the next 7 days could redefine your next 7 years. The crossroads is here. The choice is yours. But choose quickly, because destiny doesn't wait for anyone. Which path will you take? Listen to me, chosen one. The 6th of September isn't just another date circled on your calendar. It's day 1 of the most crucial 7 days of your entire existence. You see, for decades you've been walking around the same mountain, the same financial pressures, the same health concerns, the same family heartaches, the same feeling that life is happening to everyone else while you're stuck in some kind of spiritual waiting room. But what if I told you that every lap around that mountain has been preparation for this moment? Joshua 6:3 tells us something profound. March around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. 6 days of silence. 6 days of what looked like meaningless repetition. 6 days when nothing seemed to change. But on the 7th day, everything changed. The walls of Jericho didn't fall because of the marching. They fell because of the timing. They fell because God's people finally understood that some victories require exact obedience to divine timing. And beloved, your divine timing just began. The 6th of September is your day 1, not your day of hoping, not your day of wishing, your day 1 of the 7-day countdown to the walls of impossibility crashing down in your life. But here's what's going to test your faith in the next 7 days. Nothing will look different on day 2. Your bank account won't magically multiply overnight. Your prodigal children won't call with tearful apologies by day 3. Your doctor won't call by day 4 with news that your test results were miraculously wrong. The enemy is counting on you to quit by day 5 when everything still looks the same. But I'm telling you right now, and listen to every word I'm speaking, the walls are already trembling. You can't see it yet, but in the invisible realm, every step you've taken in faith, every prayer you've whispered through tears, every moment you chose to trust God when trusting made no sense, has been creating hairline fractures in the fortress of your opposition. Think about this. Why are you still here? Why didn't the divorce destroy you completely? Why didn't the financial ruin in 2008 finish you off? Why didn't that diagnosis break your spirit? Because you've been marching around your Jericho for years, and God has been using every lap to weaken the walls that seemed so permanent. The 13th of September. Mark that date. The 13th of September is your day 7, your shout day, your breakthrough day, your walls come tumbling down day. But here's the part that's going to shock you. You're not walking into blessing slowly, you're stepping into acceleration. What took years of struggling will happen in months of favor. What decades of delay held up will be released in weeks of divine intervention. The Israelites didn't chip away at Jericho's walls piece by piece. When God's timing was perfect, the entire fortress collapsed in one supernatural moment. That's what's coming for you. Not gradual improvement, sudden demolition of every barrier that's held you back. Right now, I need you to understand something that will determine whether you receive this or miss it entirely. Your faith in the next 7 days isn't just about believing God can do something. It's about trusting His timing, even when day 2 looks exactly like day 1, even when day 3 brings the same challenges as yesterday, even when day 6 tests everything you think you believe about God's faithfulness. The enemy knows what the 13th of September represents. That's why he's going to turn up the volume on every doubt, every fear, every whisper that says you've been forgotten. He's going to use the people closest to you to question your faith. He's going to use your own mind to replay every past disappointment. But Joshua didn't let his army quit on day 5. He didn't cancel the mission when day 6 looked hopeless. He trusted the God who sees the end from the beginning. Here's what I want you to do right now. Write today's date in your journal. Write 3 words underneath it. No more delay. That's your trumpet blast. That's your declaration to heaven and hell that you're not just hoping for breakthrough, you're expecting it. Because in 7 days, when your walls come crashing down, you're going to remember this moment. You're going to remember when faith felt impossible and hope felt foolish, but you chose to march anyway. Your day 7 is coming, chosen one. And when it arrives, everyone who counted you out is going to witness what happens when God's timing meets human obedience. But the question that will determine everything is this. Will you keep marching when day 3 looks exactly like day 1? Have you ever wondered why it seemed so quiet? Why heaven felt a million miles away when you needed God most? Why the answers took decades instead of days, and the breakthrough you prayed for at 35 still hasn't come at 75? Dear chosen one, let me tell you something that will shatter the lie you've been carrying in your chest like a stone. Those silent years weren't God's punishment. They were His protection. You see, there's something the enemy doesn't want you to understand about the way heaven operates. God doesn't just move people, He positions them. And positioning requires something our instant gratification world has forgotten. Divine marination. Think about Moses. 40 years in Pharaoh's palace, thinking he was somebody. Then 40 years in the wilderness, thinking he was nobody. 80 years of preparation for 40 years of purpose. When God finally called him from that burning bush, Moses wasn't a young, impulsive prince anymore. He was a weathered, humbled shepherd who had learned to depend completely on the voice of the Almighty. Why did God wait so long? Because the man who delivered Israel couldn't have been the man who killed an Egyptian in a fit of rage. You've been in your own wilderness, haven't you? Watching the years slip by like sand through your fingers. Watching your friends get promoted while you got passed over. Watching your children build their lives while you felt invisible. Watching the church celebrate younger voices while your wisdom sat silent in the back pew. But here's what breaks my heart, and maybe it should break yours too. You've been calling it neglect when God calls it nurturing. You've been calling it delay when heaven calls it development. You've been crying abandonment when the Almighty has been orchestrating your arrival. Silence is not absence. Delay is not denial. Hiddenness is not rejection. Like seeds buried deep through winters of silence, your life was never abandoned. You were being rooted. While others were growing wide, you were growing deep. While they were building platforms, you were building character. While they were collecting applause, you were collecting anointing. Think about Anna the prophetess in Luke chapter 2, 84 years old, widowed after just 7 years of marriage. She could have grown bitter, could have walked away from the temple, could have decided that God had forgotten her too. Instead, she spent decade after decade in prayer and fasting, waiting for something she couldn't even name. But when that baby Jesus was brought to the temple, Anna was there. Not the young mothers, not the influential priests. Anna, the forgotten widow who had spent her life in the shadows, became the first woman to proclaim the Messiah to Jerusalem. Her silent years weren't empty years. They were full years, full of preparation for a moment that would echo through eternity. How many moments have you felt forgotten while God was positioning you for your Anna moment? The truth is, beloved, those decades of hiddenness weren't wasted. They were invested. Every tear you cried in secret deposited character into your spiritual account. Every prayer you whispered in the dark built faith muscles that can now carry weights others can't even lift. Every time you chose to keep believing when everything looked impossible, you were qualifying for assignments that require unshakable trust. You think you're too old now? Moses was 80 when God handed him a nation to deliver. You think you missed your window? Abraham was 75 when God called him to leave everything familiar. You think your dreams died? Joseph was 39 when he finally stepped into the destiny he dreamed about at 17. God's timing isn't late, it's perfect. And your preparation isn't over, it's complete. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul right now. Those silent years have been teaching you something that this noisy generation desperately needs to learn. How to hear God's voice above the chaos. How to stand when everything is shaking. How to trust when nothing makes sense. The world doesn't need another young voice with big dreams and untested faith. The world needs seasoned warriors who have learned to worship in the wilderness, to praise in the prison, to prophesy in the pit. If you've been through those silent years, if you know what it means to wait until waiting becomes an art form, type still here in the comments right now. Let heaven and earth know that you are still standing, still believing, still expecting God to move. Because I'm about to show you something that will change how you see every single day you thought was wasted. Those years in hiding weren't heaven's mistake, they were heaven's strategy, and the assignment you've been prepared for is about to be revealed. The silence is about to break. But first, you need to understand why God chose you for what's coming next. There are marks, sacred marks, etched on your soul. You've felt them your entire life, haven't you? Those invisible brand marks burning beneath your skin, setting you apart from everyone else in the room. While others chatted about weather and sports, you felt the weight of eternity pressing against your chest. While they slept peacefully, you lay awake sensing things you couldn't name, knowing things you'd never learned. The world called you oversensitive. Your family said you felt too much, cared too deeply, saw problems that weren't there. But what if I told you that what they labeled as your weakness was actually heaven's signature on your spirit? There are marks, sacred marks, and you carry 3 of them. The first mark burns in your eyes, the mark of discernment. You walk into a room and immediately know who's lying, who's hurting, who's hiding behind their smile. You sense the spiritual temperature of every conversation, every relationship, every situation before anyone speaks a word. 1 Corinthians 2:15 declares, "The person with the Spirit makes judgments about all things." That discernment isn't a gift you developed, it's a mark you were born carrying. But here's what breaks my heart, dear one. How many times have people made you feel crazy for seeing what they couldn't see? How many times have you been told to mind your own business when your spirit screamed warnings about someone's character? How many times have you watched disasters unfold that you saw coming months before, while everyone dismissed your concerns as paranoia? That wasn't paranoia, that was prophecy. The enemy has spent decades convincing you to doubt your own spiritual radar because he knows once you trust that mark of discernment, you become dangerous to his kingdom. You start seeing through his deceptions, exposing his lies, protecting others from his traps. The second mark glows in your presence, the mark of divine magnetism. Children who barely know you climb onto your lap. Stray animals follow you home. Perfect strangers pour out their deepest secrets to you in grocery store checkout lines, confessing things they've never told their own families. You thought it was coincidence, didn't you? You thought you just had one of those faces. But listen to what Jesus said in Matthew 19:14. "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." The pure recognize the pure. The innocent are drawn to the anointed. Animals sense spiritual frequencies humans have forgotten. Children haven't yet learned to ignore their spiritual instincts. And broken people, they're attracted to your light because something in them recognizes the healing presence of God flowing through you. But the enemy turned even this blessing into a burden, didn't he? He made you feel responsible for everyone's pain, guilty when you couldn't fix every broken heart that found its way to your doorstep. He convinced you that caring deeply was a character flaw instead of a divine calling. There are marks, sacred marks, and the third one burns in your thoughts. The mark of creative authority, your words carrying weight that defies natural law, your thoughts shaping reality in ways that terrify you. Proverbs 23:7 reveals this mystery. As he thinks in his heart, so is he. But for the marked ones, it goes deeper. What you speak tends to manifest. What you pray tends to happen. What you dream often becomes reality. You've noticed it, haven't you? That unsettling pattern where your casual words somehow became prophecies. That time you worried out loud about someone's health and they got sick. That moment you spoke blessing over a struggling friend, and their situation turned around within days. That dream you had that came true so precisely, it left you questioning everything you thought you knew about reality. The world calls it coincidence. Psychology labels it anxiety. But heaven calls it authority. You carry the same creative power that spoke worlds into existence, and the enemy has been working overtime to make you afraid of your own voice. He's convinced you that your thoughts are dangerous, your words are destructive, your prayers are powerless, because he knows the moment you realize the authority flowing through your tongue, his kingdom trembles. It's like fire in your eyes, oil on your hands, and a crown no one can see. But here's the revelation that will shatter every lie you've believed about yourself. What the world called weakness, your oversensitivity, your overthinking, your seasons of profound loneliness was actually proof of your anointing. You weren't broken, beloved. You were branded. You weren't damaged goods. You were divine inventory, set apart for a purpose so significant that hell mobilized against you before you could even walk. Every attack on your confidence, every attempt to silence your voice, every season of isolation was spiritual warfare designed to keep you from discovering these marks. The loneliness you felt, that was God separating you from influences that would contaminate your calling. The rejection you've endured, that was heaven protecting you from relationships that would diminish your anointing. The seasons of feeling different, misunderstood, out of place, that was divine quarantine, preserving your spiritual frequency until this appointed time. You see, when heaven marks you, opposition will rise. But even that opposition is prophecy proof that you carry something the darkness desperately wants to destroy. Right now, I need you to stop running from these marks. Stop apologizing for your sensitivity. Stop shrinking back when your discernment makes others uncomfortable. Stop diminishing your voice when your words carry prophetic weight. Write in the comments, marked. Type it right now. Because heaven already marked you before birth, and it's time you started walking in the authority those marks represent. But there's something else you need to understand about being marked by God, something that will explain why your battles have been so intense and why your breakthrough is so close. Dear chosen one, let me ask you something that's going to cut straight to your soul. Why has your life been harder than your neighbors? Why have you buried more friends, survived more betrayals, endured more sleepless nights than people half your age? Why does it feel like you've been fighting invisible battles while everyone else gets to live in peace? Here's the truth that will shatter everything you thought you knew about your struggles. You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you were marked. The greater the calling, the greater the conflict. The brighter the flame, the stronger the wind. And beloved, you've been burning so bright that hell itself has been mobilizing against you for decades. Think about Daniel. This man lived with such integrity that his enemies couldn't find a single fault in his character. So what did they do? They conspired against him. They plotted. They schemed. They threw him into a den of hungry lions, not because he was evil, but because his righteousness exposed their corruption. Daniel 6:4 tells us they could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. You see that? The attack came because of his character, not in spite of it. Now look at your own life. How many times have people turned against you when you refused to compromise? How many relationships ended when you wouldn't participate in their darkness? How many opportunities disappeared when you chose integrity over advantage? You thought you were losing. You were actually winning. Consider Esther, an orphan girl who became queen, only to discover that her entire bloodline was marked for genocide. The enemy didn't attack her when she was powerless in exile. He attacked her when she was positioned in the palace. Esther 3-6 records how Haman scorned the idea of killing only Mordecai and instead plotted to destroy all Mordecai's people, the Jews, throughout the whole kingdom. The closer you get to your destiny, the more vicious the warfare becomes. You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you were marked. And what about Joseph? 17 years old with dreams from heaven, and immediately his own brothers plot his destruction. They didn't hate him because he was ordinary. They hated him because they saw the favor of God resting on his life. Genesis 37:4 says, "When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him." The attack came because of the anointing, not because of his actions. Like a lighthouse in a storm, the waves hit hardest against the brightest beam. And dear one, you've been that lighthouse for your family, your community, your generation. Every financial attack, every health crisis, every relationship that exploded without warning, it wasn't random, it was targeted. Hell only fights what heaven favors. Let me get personal with you for a moment. You're sitting there right now thinking about that one betrayal that nearly destroyed you. Maybe it was your spouse who walked away after 40 years. Maybe it was your children who turned their backs when you needed them most. Maybe it was the church that rejected you when you dared to speak truth. You've been carrying shame about those attacks, haven't you? Wondering what you did wrong, questioning if maybe you deserved the pain, analyzing every conversation, every decision, every moment leading up to the explosion. Stop it, right now. You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you were marked. The enemy saw something in you that you couldn't see in yourself. He saw the deliverer before you knew you were called to deliver. He saw the healer before you discovered your gift to heal. He saw the intercessor before you understood the weight of your prayers. So he sent everything he had to try to break you early, to crush your spirit before you could step into your calling. But here's what he didn't count on. The same God who marked you also shielded you. The same God who called you also covered you. You're still here, aren't you? Still breathing, still believing, still standing when others would have crumbled. That's not luck, beloved. That's divine protection over someone heaven refuses to lose. But let me tell you why the warfare has been so intense lately. It's because your breakthrough is so close that hell can taste it. The enemy knows that once you step into the fullness of who God created you to be, entire family trees will be transformed, generational curses will be broken, spiritual atmospheres will shift. You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you were marked. Every sleepless night was training you in spiritual warfare. Every betrayal was teaching you discernment. Every financial crisis was building your faith in divine provision. Every health battle was proving that your life is hidden with Christ in God. If you've felt that battle, if you know exactly what I'm talking about, if you've been fighting invisible forces while everyone else lived in blissful ignorance, write in the comments right now, "I've been fighting." Let heaven see your declaration. Let the angels witness your testimony, and know this with absolute certainty. You were never fighting alone. Every moment you thought you were outnumbered, the host of heaven was surrounding you. Every time you felt overwhelmed, God was orchestrating your victory behind the scenes. The battle was never about destroying you. The battle was about qualifying you for what comes next. And after the battle comes the mantle. After the testing comes the testimony. After the warfare comes the coronation. But first, you need to understand why the 6th of September carries a weight that will either crush you or crown you. Listen to me, chosen one. The 6th of September is not an ordinary date on your calendar. It's not just another Thursday you'll spend checking blood pressure or sorting pills. This is a coronation. Right now, as these words pierce through the fog of your ordinary thinking, heaven is draping a mantle across your shoulders that has been waiting in the treasury of eternity for decades. Feel that weight. That's not arthritis in your joints. That's the mantle of divine authority settling over a life that the world wrote off, but God never forgot. You see, most people think mantles are given to the young, the strong, the untested, but God operates differently. When heaven needs someone to carry real authority, real power, real responsibility, they don't call the seminary graduates, they call the survivors. They call the ones who've been refined in the furnace of real life. like Joseph, who exchanged prison rags for royal robes in a single afternoon. One moment he was forgotten in Pharaoh's dungeon, the next he was second in command over all Egypt. The transition wasn't gradual, it was instantaneous. Genesis 41-42 tells us, Pharaoh took his signet ring and put it on Joseph's hand, clothed him in fine linen, and put a gold chain around his neck. Prison to palace in one divine decree. Like David, crowned after caves, for years he ran from King Saul, sleeping on cold ground, eating scraps, wondering if God's promise was just a dream. But 2 Samuel 2-4 records the moment everything changed. Then the men of Judah came, and there they anointed David king. The shepherd boy who hid in wilderness caves became the king who established an eternal kingdom. Like Esther, clothed in courage she never knew she possessed. An orphan girl, plucked from obscurity, positioned for such a time as this. When Mordecai told her the fate of her people rested in her hands, she could have shrunk back. Instead, she said, "If I perish, I perish." That's the voice of someone whose mantle had already fallen. This is your mantle. This is your moment. This is your marking. But here's what's breaking my heart right now. Some of you are sitting there thinking, "This can't be for me. I'm 73 years old. I missed my chance. My children barely call. My savings are gone. My body is failing. What could God possibly want with someone like me?" Stop, right there, stop. That lie just revealed why the enemy fought so hard to keep you from hearing this message. Because he knows something you're forgetting. He knows that when God places a mantle on someone who has nothing left to lose, they become unstoppable. When divine authority rests on shoulders that have carried decades of pain, mountains move. Moses was 80 when the burning bush called his name. 80 years old. By today's standards, he should have been in assisted living, not facing down Pharaoh. But God said, "Now you're ready. Now you've been broken enough. Now you've been humbled enough. Now you understand that this power isn't yours, it's mine flowing through you. You think your wrinkles disqualify you? They're wisdom marks. You think your gray hair makes you irrelevant? Proverbs 16:31 calls it a crown of glory. You think your slower walk means you can't keep up. You're not trying to keep up anymore. You're setting the pace for a generation that's forgotten how to walk by faith. This mantle isn't about what you can do in your own strength. It's about what God can do through someone who's finally learned that his strength is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12-9 isn't poetry, it's prophecy over your life right now. You are not leaving this video the same. Something is shifting in your atmosphere right now. Can you feel it? That stirring in your chest isn't heartburn. That's heaven downloading authority you've never carried before. That weight on your shoulders isn't the burden of age, it's the mantle of purpose being draped across a life that's about to explode with significance. But mantles come with missions, and missions demand movement. When Elijah threw his mantle over Elisha in 1 Kings 19:19, everything changed instantly. Elisha killed his oxen, burned his plow, and followed. No looking back, no negotiating with the call. The mantle fell, and the mission began. Right now, heaven is asking you the same question it asked Elisha. Will you burn the plow of your old life to embrace the power of your new calling? Will you stop making excuses about your age and start making moves in your assignment? Write it boldly in the comments. I receive my mantle. Don't just think it, declare it. Say it out loud until your room shakes. Let the angels hear that you're no longer available for small thinking, small living, or small impact. You're wearing kingdom authority now, because when the mantle falls, the mission begins. And your mission has been waiting 70, 80, 90 years for someone exactly like you, scarred, tested, refined, and finally ready to carry the weight of divine purpose. The question that will determine everything is this: what will you do with the authority heaven just placed on your shoulders? Dear one, I need to ask you something that might cut deeper than any surgeon's blade. When you close your eyes tonight, maybe for the last time, Maybe not. What will you leave behind? What echo of your voice will bounce off the walls of eternity when your children's children search for answers you never gave them? You think you're at the end of your story, don't you? You look in that mirror and see wrinkles mapping out a life that's winding down. You feel your body slowing, your energy fading, and the world tells you to step aside, make room for the young ones. But what if I told you that everything you've believed about endings is a lie straight from hell? You are not at the end, beloved. You are at the threshold. Every prayer you've whispered in the darkness of your bedroom, every tear you've shed over grandchildren who've lost their way, every moment you've interceded for a nation spiraling toward destruction, those weren't desperate cries into emptiness. Those were seeds. Divine seeds planted in the soil of eternity. And right now, on the 6th of September, God is preparing the harvest. Think about Abraham, 99 years old when God renewed his covenant. 99, the world would have put him in a nursing home, told him his productive years were over. But Genesis 17:5 declares, "No longer will you be called Abram, your name will be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations." Made you past tense. The promise was already done in heaven's realm before Isaac ever drew breath. Your legacy isn't waiting to be written. It's already been authored by the Almighty himself. But here's what breaks my heart, chosen one. The enemy has convinced you that influence ends at 65. That impact requires physical strength. That your season of significance is locked away in photo albums and fading memories. Yet Anna the prophetess understood something that eludes this generation. At 84 years old, she had spent decades in the temple, fasting and praying, waiting for the Messiah. Luke 2:38 tells us that when she saw baby Jesus, she spoke about the child to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. 84 years old, and she became the first evangelist of the New Testament. Her wrinkled hands held the Christ child. Her aged voice proclaimed the Savior. Her grey hair crowned a moment that changed history forever. Your grey hair is not a sign of fading, it is a crown of fire. Listen to me carefully. The world measures worth by productivity, by paychecks, by how many steps you can take without getting winded. But heaven measures worth by intercession, by the prayers that rise like incense from your living room at 5 a.m. when nobody else is awake. By the tears you've cried over a prodigal son who's been gone for 15 years. By the faith you've held on to when everything visible said to let go. You are a bridge between generations, dear one. Your voice is an echo into tomorrow that your great-grandchildren will hear in ways you can't imagine. When that little boy you pray for every night finally comes to Jesus at age 35, it won't be because of a preacher on television. It'll be because your prayers created a spiritual atmosphere that made salvation irresistible. You think your influence is shrinking because your address book is getting thinner. But spiritual influence doesn't diminish with age, it intensifies. Every year you've walked with God, every storm you've weathered, every mountain you've climbed, has been building spiritual authority that younger people simply cannot possess. Paul understood this. Chained in a Roman prison, body broken, ministry apparently over. But from that cell, he penned Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, Philemon. His greatest impact came not from his missionary journeys, but from his prison letters. When the world tried to silence him, God amplified his voice to reach 2,000 years into the future. Your limitations are not limitations, they are amplifiers. Right now, God is repositioning you from the battlefield to the war room. He's moving you from running the race to coaching the runners. He's transitioning you from being the voice to being the echo that shapes voices yet to come. This isn't demotion, this is divine deployment into your highest calling, but I need you to understand the urgency of this moment. The 6th of September isn't just another day on the calendar. It's the day heaven is releasing a generational mandate through vessels the world has written off. While society pushes seniors to the sidelines, God is moving them to the center of his endgame strategy. Every wrinkle on your face is a testament to survival. Every scar tells a story of victory. Every grey hair represents a battle won in faith. You are not fading. You are being refined into pure gold that can withstand the fires coming upon this earth. The next generation needs what you carry. They need your stability in chaos. They need your peace in panic. They need your faith when their feelings fail them. They need to see that it's possible to grow old and still grow in God. They need to witness what happens when someone refuses to quit believing, even when heaven seems silent. Your story is not over, chosen one. The 6th of September marks the beginning of your legacy chapter. The chapter where everything you've learned, everything you've survived, everything you've believed converges into a force that will shake your family tree for generations to come. So right now, I need you to declare it. Not think it, not hope it, but declare it with the authority of someone who has walked through fire and emerged as gold. Declare it, my story is not over. Type it below. Whisper it at home. Write it in the margins of your Bible. Let heaven and earth know that you refuse to fade quietly into the background when God is calling you to blaze into your destiny. Because the end of this message is not an ending, it is ascending. And what you're about to be sent into will redefine everything you thought you knew about the power of a praying saint who refuses to quit believing in the impossible. Beloved, chosen one, as we reach the end of this sacred encounter, I need you to carry 3 unshakable truths with you into tomorrow and every day that follows. First, the 6th of September wasn't just another date on your calendar, it was your divine appointment with destiny. The struggles you've endured, the prayers you've whispered, the tears you've shed in secret, none of it was wasted. Every moment has been preparing you for this season, when God needs seasoned warriors, not green recruits. Second, your grey hair is not a sign of diminishing, it's evidence of refining. Every line on your face tells a story of God's faithfulness. Every ache in your bones bears witness to battles won through His strength. You are not fading into obscurity, you are being positioned for your greatest impact. Third, your legacy is not behind you, it's being written right now. Every prayer you pray over your grandchildren, every act of faith you demonstrate, every moment you choose hope over despair, is creating ripples that will reach generations you'll never meet on this side of eternity. But I need you to know something that settles deeper than knowledge. You are never, ever walking this journey alone. The God who called Abraham at 75, who used Moses at 80, who empowered Anna at 84, is the same God working in your life right now. He hasn't forgotten your address. He hasn't lost your phone number. Every sunrise you witness is His way of saying, I'm not done with you yet. And right here, in this community of believers, you have thousands of brothers and sisters who understand your journey. We see the weight you carry. We recognize the fire that still burns in your eyes. We know that behind that gentle exterior beats the heart of a warrior who refuses to quit believing in the impossible. So let me ask you this final question, and let it echo in your heart long after this video ends. If God brought you this far through every storm, every loss, every night, when you wondered if you'd see morning, why would He abandon you now at the threshold of your greatest victory? Before I release you into your calling, I want to pray over you. Right now, wherever you are, whether you're sitting alone in your living room, lying in a hospital bed, or watching this in the quiet hours of the morning, I want you to feel the weight of these words settling over your spirit like a warm blanket of hope. Heavenly Father, I come before your throne, carrying every precious soul who has walked this journey with us today. Lord, you see them, not just their silver hair and weathered hands, but their unbroken spirits and unwavering faith. You know the battles they've fought in silence, the prayers they've prayed through tears, the hope they've clung to when everything visible said to let go. Father, I pray that right now, you would place your mighty hand upon their shoulders. Let them feel your presence stronger than any pain, your peace deeper than any worry, your love more real than any fear. Where they feel forgotten, remind them they are engraved on your palms. Where they feel weak, let your strength be made perfect. Where they feel alone, surround them with the awareness that you will never leave them nor forsake them. God, breathe new life into dreams they thought were dead, open doors they thought were permanently closed, heal relationships they thought were beyond repair, provide resources they never imagined possible. Give them supernatural strength for their bodies, divine peace for their minds, and holy fire for their spirits. Let this be the day everything changes, Lord. Let this be the moment they stop surviving and start thriving. Use their testimonies to encourage others. Use their prayers to move mountains. Use their lives as beacons of hope in a world that's forgotten how to believe. In the precious name of Jesus, who loves them beyond measure and has plans to prosper them and not to harm them, to give them a future and a hope, I seal this prayer. Amen. Now, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, share how God spoke to your heart today. Tell us what stirred in your spirit. Ask for prayer if you need it. This community will surround you with intercession. And if this message ignited something in your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to remember they're not alone in this battle. Thank you for walking this journey with me today. Thank you for staying until the very end, for opening your heart to receive what heaven wanted to pour into you. Your faithfulness to listen tells me everything I need to know about the warrior spirit beating in your chest. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. We're not just building a subscriber list, we're building a family of overcomers who refuse to fade quietly into the background. Your story matters. Your voice carries weight. Your prayers move heaven. Remember, chosen one, your best days aren't behind you. They're unfolding right now, one faithful step at a time. Until we meet again, walk in the authority of who you are, rest in the certainty of His love, and never forget that the 6th of September marked not an ending, but a glorious new beginning. God bless you mightily, warrior. Your finest hour is just ahead.